Welcome back, everybody, to another exciting episode of Aaron's Opinion, the podcast for blind people, where we speak about critical issues in the blindness community and all of the issues from across the universe and galaxy. Zephyrin, I believe that you liked one of our posts, or I'm not entirely sure how I came across you, but I came to know that your profile certainly enjoys what we do and that you did find out about what we do, and I appreciate it. We appreciate it very much. I've also come to understand that you do a lot around the blindness community, everything from gaming to acting to comedy to just everything else in between. So, who is Zephyrin? And basically, you have the microphone for as long as you want, really, to tell your life story and talk to us about all of the interesting things you do. So, dive right in. Welcome.
Hey, thank you for having me. My name is Zephyrin Victor Jr. I do live in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, by way of Miami, Florida. My family, both sides, are from the Caribbean. Um, I I actually went totally blind twice in my life. I had a visual impairment that they noticed around the age of 5/6 years old. I did get a surgery maybe around the age of 7/8. I don't quite remember, but I did lose my right eye, which is hereditary in my family. It runs through the women. It affects one boy in each of the women side of the family on my mom's side. So I was the selected one. Um, I have a nephew that has the same eye issue. I have a cousin that's totally blind. I have, a few cousins. My granddad could only see out of one of his eyes. So it did run through that side of the family, and it's definitely a thing. Um, but I don't know when my right eye went. I was just a child, didn't really notice. I had a doctor come fresh out of school that wanted to do an experimental surgery that was a 50-50 chance that I would get my eyesight in my left eye better, it was definitely manageable, but it was weak. Um, he did the surgery and made me go completely blind. And about 3 months later, I had another doctor come in and save my eye. He did a surgery. I was out of school for a couple of weeks, but he brought back the sight of my eye, so I was wearing glasses to help with my eyesight. I could still see without them though, but I held on to that vision until I turned 30 years old, where I completely lost it again. But that time, I actually gave up on it. I was wearing contacts. Had just had my second child, and I decided I didn't want to go through the headaches at work anymore, staring at the screens. It wasn't really helping my eyesight, not wearing my contacts. So I just, that was it. And I don't know exactly when it went when I was 30 years old, but if any blind person out there can relate, I just stopped trying to see things. I was ready for it, actually. Um, I wouldn't have my eyes open to do anything. Everything was with my eyes closed whenever I got on my PlayStation, walking outside, taking care of my kids, um, cooking, anything. I just wouldn't do it. I would check I can't say how often, but every once in a while to see if I could still see light. And it just came one day where there was no light. There was nothing. So I was just happy that it was over with so I wouldn't try to see anymore. Um, that's my vision in a nutshell. I see a eye doctor every once every like 5 years or so. I can't even tell you how long in between, but it's been just about 15 years now since I lost that sight, all of my sight. So I've probably been to the doctor maybe about 2 times within that time, maybe three. Yeah. So, you know, who cares about getting it back? I don't care. Things happen for a reason. So, um, anyone who comes along, even speaking about it, okay, I just figure that, in the afterlife, it'll come back. So I don't worry about anything other than that, that has to do with my eyes, besides making light of it and teaching others how to maintain their eyesight, how to use their other senses and skills without their eyesight. And that brings me to me playing and also teaching adaptive sports, the sports that I have skills in, which would be goalball, beat baseball, blind kickball. I have done the bocce. It's not my speed, but I know how to do it. Um, what else was there? Zip lining, it is swimming, anything that has to do with sports. I've pretty much had some type of experience in it, and I don't mind teaching it. So I'm with the Parks and Recreation here in South Florida. I host a blind sports day maybe 2-3 times a year for the lighthouses in the Tri-County area, or any area that would like to be involved. Last year we did a camp of over 100 kids came out to try the sports. I got about 45 minutes to stand on stage and speak with them about my experiences. Also, to throw my jokes in there, because I am a professional comedian and actor. So I did share those things with them, and it was a crowd like no other crowd that I had, being that it was young people. I believe they ranged from maybe like 13 years old to about 22 years old. And it was just a different type of crowd. They related to everything that I had to say, my experiences. I had advice for them, and they loved it. I would love to speak in front of that kind of crowd again. And just of that size, I speak to crowds, but they're not that big. Not as big as that one. When it comes to the disabled crowds, um, it was just an experience for me. I loved it, and they learned something new. A lot of them never knew that blind sports existed. The others didn't even know they had athleticism in them until that day, and that's what made me feel really, really good. I love to teach. I love to share my knowledge and my experience, and I get to do that pretty often here. Let's see, last year, uh, completed my fourth year of playing beat baseball professionally. I did make the all-star team for my team here in South Florida. Um, I have won championships in goalball. Um, I participate in the tandem bike riding experience here in Fort Lauderdale. When I can, we do it once a month, but I'm sometimes I'm just busy. Um, what else do I have for you? That's the sporting side. Professional gaming side is me playing video games using my ears only. A lot of sighted people don't understand it because they figure that you have to look at the screen, but us gamers that are blind, there's a community of us, and we use our ears. It takes more training than someone with their eyes, but I learned to paint pictures of the game in my head from what I used to be able to see. And I use my ears to match with the sound, with the sights that they may see, and translate it into my hands to coordinate what I do. And I'm very good at it. So, as any listener may know, when you're good at something, you want to keep doing it and you want to show it off. And that's what I do with all aspects of my life. So if there are any other gamers, you can find me. We can play, we can talk. whatever. Um, what else do we have? As far as my comedic adventures, um, I've been in. There's only a few states that I haven't been in to do comedy yet. Um, support, it's on and off type. I try to keep my material, um, I would say, listenable to the to both young adults, the seasoned adults, and kids, because I do shows for all ages, and I have a lot of material in my pocket that I bring out for different shows. Um, I've recently, what was that in it was late last year. I believe that was November. I actually just did a show with Keenan Thompson from SNL, Saturday Night Live. Um, that was the most recent superstar that I was on stage with, and I loved it. Got a chance to talk to him, and otherwise I would be talking to him as a fan, but I spoke with him as a colleague. I don't get excited for things like that. Um, overly excited, should I say? But I was very happy to be, having a one-on-one chat, man to man with him. Took pictures, shared the stage with them. It was awesome. So if you in your city or state need someone to come and speak to your young adults, maybe full grown adults, children, maybe you need a laugh, I'm here. I can be hired. I love to do this. It's what I like, and I make light of being blind and disabled in the world today by making people laugh and also educate them at the same time on how to interact with us, how to treat us, and how to be able to listen to what we need before reaching out and grabbing, maybe even learning about the silly things that happen with us. And that's what I love to do. Um, and I'm also a father of three. I have three boys, 20, 16, and 8 years old. Um, child in college, high school, and elementary school. It's a big gap there, but things happen. I am married. I have a wife. No cat or dog, nothing like that. The adventures of being a parent. Every parent out there should know it is an adventure. Um, it's fun though, and it's what I love. I wouldn't give it back. I love my boys. I love my family. My family's huge on both sides. My mom's side of the family is from the Bahamas. My dad's side of the family is from an island called Dominica, which is in the West Indies. Um, and I love to eat. I'm not a cooker, but I love to eat. I love, love, love to travel. Um, and I love to entertain. And that's me.
I absolutely loved everything you said. Absolutely. That really spoke to me, everything you said. I think it's deeply, deeply fascinating how you have chosen to basically have the strength within your soul, within your being to laugh comfortably with your blindness. There's a lot to be learned from that. A tremendous amount can be learned from that. So
Thank you.
where to begin? Well, I gotta say, I'm not terribly into the sports part, but I love that. I do have with my usable vision. I actually do have an electric scooter, and I enjoy riding that around my community where I live. So when you mentioned the tandem biking, I thought, oh, that's so good that you know of the beauty of bicycles and scooters and things like that. That's really, really, really fun. Yeah.
Yes,
I have
yes.
heard I have heard of some of these blind sports. I've played goalball like maybe once, one time, but certainly not I would say that I'm not an athletic guy, but as you say, you never really know what your athletic ability is until it, can be tested, which is true. Um,
Yes.
but I've heard of all these sports, and I think that's really touching, and that's really good, and that's really excellent that you were able to speak to a group of people and, have this interaction. As far as the gaming goes, yeah, I mean, I've noticed over the years that more and more blind people are getting into gaming. So let's unfold that. What are your favorite games to play, and how do they work?
Really, the only game that I play right now, mostly like maybe 95% of the time, I play Mortal
Hmm.
Kombat. I play Mortal Kombat. I play Street Fighter also. Um, I play beat 'em up games, which are the games that you just side scroll through the streets and fight people. I'm really good at those. So I
Hmm.
play games like Streets of Rage and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I play those types of games. When the Wii came out, I was playing the Wii pretty hard. I was so into that because of the motions, you get exercise and everything. But
Yeah.
that kind of fizzled out because it got old. I still
Right.
have one, but I don't play it. Um, what else? I they also okay. This is the thing. I don't know how familiar with video games you are with today, but they are making so many video games accessible now. They all speak to you. So even the games where you go through the cities and shoot zombies and grab weapons and things like that, they are all accessible. They give you a sound for the targets. They give you cues on where to walk. Um they have full dialogue. The menus speak. So there's a lot that makes video gaming accessible now. And for the games that we really, really want to play that we that may not be accessible or partially accessible, we make them work to the best of our ability. And everything takes practice, and that's what we do. And we share our knowledge with each other, and we work to conquer these games.
You're very right. I'm sure you're in the several I know of because I've interviewed several people too who are into this. I'm sure you're in the accessible gaming groups on Facebook, right? Because there's a lot of those, right?
I'm in one of them, yes. I'm in one, and
Which one is it? I wonder if I'm in it too, because I know I'm in one of those groups. I just forget which one it is. So which
it's
group do you think you're in?
called Blind Gamers, I
Don't
believe. I believe it's
don't
called.
think I'm in that one, but I'm technically not a gamer. But I will tell you that with my usable vision, well, several games have held my interest over the years. And it kind of depends on what mood I'm in. Sometimes I also enjoy watching streamers too who play games professionally. So certainly send me your YouTube if you're into that, or send me your Twitch.
Yeah,
Which
I can
I'm
do
which
that.
I'm not on. I'm not on Twitch, by the way, but you know what I mean. I would definitely enjoy watching one of your live streams to get the flow of it for sure. The other thing is it
Yeah.
depends on what mood I'm in. Some days I like watching, simulation games, whether it be restaurant simulator, flight simulator,
Hmm.
nature. There's another game too. I forget what it's called, and I only watched the person once. They weren't blind, I don't think, but they were. It was a game where they were like out in the wilderness, one of those like survival nature games. Like those can be really aesthetic and really beautiful too. So it kind of depends
Hmm.
on what mood I'm in. There's all sorts of different things, but these simulation games and life experience games are getting disturbingly more real and are getting disturbingly more compelling, actuly. Um,
Yes.
but it does depend on the game. That's super fun. That's super super fun.
And
Yeah.
there's a lot of games that I wish I could play,
Let's talk
as
about it.
as
Which one do you
as the
wish you
young
could play?
community.
Because maybe I'd give you an idea. Which one do you wish you could play? Maybe I'll give you an idea.
Okay, there's a old school game, two old school games
Right?
that recently there's one that's being released now and one that's coming up. The one is Ninja Gaiden and the other one's Shinobi. I used to play those games when I was able to see, and I can't even imagine how beautiful they would look now.
Mm-hmm.
And I would love to play those games. I have maybe one or two blind friends that played the last games that came out. They were not accessible, but they tried to make them work.
Mm-hmm.
There was no way to beat those games without sighted help, but they actually came out with a Spider-Man game that I beat. Two Spider-Man games that were fully accessible. They had you swinging from ledges and taking down crime bosses, and it was all accessible. So I'm hoping that they actually incorporated this stuff because that Spider-Man game was fun.
Some of these games are very, very fun. You know what I think would be an interesting task for you that a lot of people are overlooking it and a lot of people are saying that it's not very important, but in fact it is. I think you should try to see if other blind people have gotten into Hogwarts Legacy because that's a major game and that's very, very interesting for a lot
I
of
heard
different
about
reasons.
that. I heard about that. I
Yeah.
actually came across that as a download on my PlayStation, but I didn't download it because I have no knowledge on it.
Yeah. Well, did you ever read the books?
I'm sorry.
Did you ever read the Harry Potter books?
No, I didn't. I
Oh, okay.
didn't.
Interesting. Okay, that would explain. So if you had read the books, you would have known what it was, but it's a major game for that community. It is very, very compelling and very visual and very, again, immersive too. That's what's very impressive with some of these games is the level that they pull you into the environment that they're trying to convey. So that part is very, very interesting. Well, that's really good. Yeah. I think there's a lot of other accessible games, and there's a large community for accessible gaming for sure.
Now
So,
that's the funny part
yeah, that there is a
because
pretty
I
large
don't.
community.
I'm sorry. It's because
Hmm.
the games that were made for the phones
Right.
and things like that. I'm not into those only because I use my phone for so much business, like
Hmm.
TikTok and Instagram and YouTube, that I don't want to hold my phone to play a game. If I want to play a game, I turn on my PlayStation, and it has always been like that for me. Even though I have tried out a few accessible games that were created, I'll support anybody. Oh, this guy created this game. Everyone's playing it. Check it out. Okay, I'll check it out. But I in the back of my head, I know that I'm not going to keep playing this game because I want to put my phone down when I'm done doing business. And that may be a harsh reality, but I've always loved the controller in my hand.
Sure. You love the feel of the controller and the positive, the positive way that it feels. That, yeah,
Yes,
definitely.
yes,
Yeah. It definitely helps us to kind of escape from our current reality a little bit and to kind of zone into another environment for sure. And I think that's why it's compelling for people. Absolutely. Yeah. Really
yes.
super fun. Well, we'll definitely connect about that. I think in the Aaron's Opinion family, we have, I don't know specifically how many other people we have who are into gaming, but I know we do have several, many. And that's really good. The other thing you mentioned too, which deeply fascinates me, is your love for comedy and acting. Now, comedy is a tricky thing to get into for one thing. And it's always difficult to be a comedian, as they say, because anything you say is always at someone else's expense. So really, intellectually speaking, and then I want you to unfold, and you're certainly not going to get out of here today without trying to make me laugh, because I love some comedy, some really, really good, really thought-provoking comedy. Um, so, how did you discover that you are able to hold an audience and are able to truly have a grip of comedy? And in your professional opinion, how does comedy really work if we're going to talk about blindness and disability? How does all of that actually work?
Okay, so let me go back to my elementary school days. Um, my teachers, I started off school in, regular classes that, like we call it in the blind community or the disabled community, up until I was in third grade when I went to um, ESE classes and then was mainstreamed out. I started, it went backwards. So I was in both. Throughout my life, I was always in both until it balanced out. I was doing more uh, mainstream classes than ESE classes. But during that time, they found out that I had talent. So they started putting me in plays. They put me in different productions in elementary school. Middle school, it kind of cooled off because the setup was different, but that's when I started doing sports. Um, but then in high school is when everything really came together. I got into music. So by then I was not afraid of anybody's crowd. I could sit on stage and play the piano. I can recite a poem. I could make a speech. I could do anything in front of a crowd. I didn't mind running track in front of a crowd, playing goalball. So when I got into college, I was solely focused on playing the piano until I got professional, was playing in the malls and competitions on television. But then I stopped doing that and I started working. And I was working in customer service. And then one day my cousin called me. He's a professional violinist. And he called me and he said, listen, you know, you're very witty. You're quick on your feet with things that come out of your mouth. I want you to try this. I see that the Hard Rock Cafe is offering comedy one-on-one classes. Just sign up for it. My first question was, how much is it? he said, it's $250, but I want you to do it. I just want you to see how to structure your the things that you say into actual stand up. So he actually took me to the first class himself, when he was in town off of tour. And I learned from a professional comedian how to structure a joke into, a premise into punchlines, and how to control the crowd if someone speaks out of turn, which they always do when I'm on stage, because you can badger the blind guy, and they just try to throw me off, but it doesn't work. Um, and at the end of that 6 week class, they put us on stage in front of a packed house, 500 guests at the Hard Rock Cafe here in Hollywood. And I brought the house down. So I just kept doing it from there. Um, Really, I talk about myself. I talk about my adventures because my life has been a full adventure, from everything that I spoke about and more. And I turn those into jokes, as they come to me. I go to open mics and practice them. Um, I mingle with other comedians and professionals, musicians, poets, and that's my personality. I'm a people person. I don't speak all the time. I know when to be quiet. Sometimes I may say too much, but you know, comedy is something that I love doing. I have questioned myself about question the support that I get, because support is not always steady. Even like right now, I feel like I'm not getting enough work. Um, it's it it's all about your personality, and you have to have things to talk about, just like these people on social media who's always posting videos up talking about anything, just anything that comes to their head. You have to be able to throw something at the crowd that they can relate to. And I had to figure that out after I came out of that class, that everybody's not going to know what I'm talking about when I say that, um, say something about being blind. A sighted person who never met a person that's blind, or may not have experience with a blind person, may not understand my jokes. So I had to learn how to structure it, dumb it down, and make it so that they understand. So some things probably never made it out of my head, and a lot of things have. Um, it just, they have to be able to relate to it, and that's the advice I would give a comedian of any sort. It may be funny to you, but how can I make it funny to them?
Absolutely. You explained it. You have a beautiful way of words. You're very your delivery, by the way. I got to tell you, you're a great listen. You're so calm and so like pleasant and like so no, seriously. Like you're so like there's like you're very serious and very pleasant and just very like smooth to talk to. You have a very calming presence and a very
Thank you.
strong your presence is very strong, but also very like relaxing and calming too. Very therapeutic. Absolutely. No,
Thank
you
you.
you definitely. have a huge personality for sure. So if somebody came to me and said, Aaron's opinion, you'd be pretty funny too. You should sign up at the Hard Rock Cafe for $250, for an intro comedy 101 class. I would say, I mean, my response to that is yes, I'll certainly go to that class and you'll be paying for it since it was your idea. That's, you should, why didn't you tell your cousin that? You should have said, well, if he told you it's $250, you should have said, okay. Well, then I want the free class. Then you're paying the 250, and I'm going for free. Is what
I
you
really
should.
thought he was going to say that. I really did.
Well, well, I mean, no, I mean, I just mean that you should have made your
Yeah, I
cousin
know. I
the
know.
violin. Yeah. In
I
what
probably should
capacity?
have.
In what capacity is he a professional violinist? Like touring with bands, or like orchestral, classical? Like what does he do?
He's a the group is called Black Violin. It's him and his partner. And
Okay,
they play the violin to all types of music, rap music, classical music, with
interesting.
orchestras. They do everything, and it sounds awesome.
That's fun. That's fun. All right. So give me some comedy. Give me some things that I would, if you were to talk to me as another blind person. What is some comedy that you can kind of deliver a little bit where I can kind of get your flavor, and what's some things that I would be able to relate to? So let me see what you got.
Okay, well, my logo and my symbol is Bat Life, BATLIFE. That's when you may be living life the blind way and you may not even know it. So the symptoms of living a bad life would be number one, have you ever woken up for work in the morning, thought that you were late, got up, ran to the bathroom, brushed your teeth, threw on your clothes, sprayed on a little cologne, went outside and found out that it was still dark outside? That's bad life. It happens to me all the time. Number two, have you ever walked into a corporate building and tripped over the wet floor sign before you found out the floor was wet? That's bad life. It happens to me all the time. For the guys, have you ever met a woman? She told you how beautiful she was. When you reached up to go kiss her and run your fingers through her hair, you found out she had a better haircut than you. That's bad life. It happens to me all the time. How about you wake up in the morning, early morning, to go to the bathroom, take a pee, and you start to do your thing and find out that the top of the toilet was down the whole time? That's not bad life. You're just drunk.
There you go. Absolutely. Okay. All right. Very, and it's certainly relatable to me as a blind person. But you're right. Would a sighted person get that? Maybe they would get the punchline, but the other three things leading up to it, they may or may not completely get it. You know. Um,
Right, and that's why I mix it in.
mhm.
You can't. People wake up thinking they're late for work all the time.
That's why it's
You
funny.
know,
Because
but when you
because the
go
other joke is everybody does those things.
right,
Whether you're blind or not, everybody does that. Right.
right, but I'm putting a twist on it, letting you know how it feels to me.
Right.
Who doesn't trip over a wet floor sign? You may have seen it, but you still kind of clipped it a little bit. But for blind people, it seems like those things have legs on them. They follow you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Interesting. And how did you get to perform with the person from SNL? How was that
Oh,
arrangement
Keenan
made?
Thompson.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, the guy from Good Burger. Yeah, him. What happened is there's a show production in Atlanta, which I love going to Atlanta to perform. I do it pretty often. They're called Keenan Thompson Presents. It's a lady there. Her name is Cherie. She runs a uh, a showcase that travels between cities and states, and you have to audition in order to get on with them. Then they put you on in competitions. You have to win competitions, and when you get so far, they put you up against their best, and you have to compete against them to get on stage with celebrities. And Kenan Thompson is the top celebrity because it's his name on it. Um, and I actually won that. I won it last year, and because I won, they got me to Atlantic City, New Jersey, and because it's right under New York where SNL is being filmed, he came down before Saturday Night Live went on the air, and he met with me and a few others, and we talked, shook hands, took pictures, got on stage, and when he was done, he went straight to Saturday Night Live and was on TV. So that's how I got in there. I had to compete against 200 or something other comedians in different levels, and I made it through.
Wow, my God, that's incredible. That's an incredible accomplishment. Yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
So
it was tough.
tough competition. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
that's really 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 fascinating. Were you surprised when you won the competition and actually got that opportunity?
Oh yeah, I was definitely surprised. I felt like I should have been in that toss because I have what I call my open mic jokes, my unpaid jokes, and my money making jokes. And I brought my money making jokes to that competition because I knew I needed them.
Right,
And I,
right.
I got their attention, and the producer came to me afterwards, and she gave me a hug. She was like, "You were awesome. More people need to see you." I got a
Absolutely.
I got an offer to be on America's Got Talent that I'm waiting to hear back from right now. So I'm working on it.
Okay. All right. You're working on it. You're working on it. Well, how
Yes.
much are they paying you if you're working on it? That, it's pretty interesting, Um,
I'll tell you
but
something funny though.
I know you can. Everything you're saying is funny and interesting. So yes, can you tell me something else funny? Yes, you can tell me something else that's funny. Yes, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, a bit of information. The I When it comes to being paid for comedy, you get paid, but you get paid more when you have stars next to your name. And I'll be honest, the motivational speaking actually pays me more per gig. I love motivational speaking more because it allows me to add my jokes to relevant things. So I can be speaking to you about um how not to leave a door halfway open for, when there's a blind person around or in the house, but I'll make a joke out of it, yeah, during my motivational speaking. As if I did it the other way around, I'll have to structure it more as a joke than trying to give you advice, but I can do it both ways. But motivational speaking actually helps, actually keeps my lights on a lot better than doing straight comedy. Even though I have been in a few movies, but they are not notable movies like Tom Hanks and those guys. But
Right.
that's
Right.
just something I'll give you there. You don't make those huge bucks until you're on a movie screen, um, in a movie theater.
Absolutely. I think for one thing, and we're going to talk about the acting in a minute too, because that's also one of my dreams is to be an actor in a movie, whether it's a big one or not. Being in a movie is so much fun. I would love that. But speaking of motivational speaking, I think it's important here to talk about what really motivational speaking is, because I'm a teacher, Zephyrin, and I tell people all the time, I can't teach motivation. Motivation cannot be taught. It's either there or not there. So really,
Mhm.
what is motivational speaking? And what I'm really asking is this, and what I'm really saying is this. There's a lot of stereotypes behind various motivational speakers. There's a lot of different rumors about motivational speaking. Is it truly motivation? How do you interpret, how do you take hold of motivational speaking in the right way? And obviously you do. So talk about it.
First of all, motivational speaking to me can be boring. It could be interesting. It could be fun. And I hear a lot of boring motivational speaking. If I'm trying to hold my head up or I'm yawning while you're speaking, you're not really getting your point across. And that's why I like doing what I do because I have this the the recipe for making my motivational speaking interesting because I want to make you laugh while I'm doing it. And motivational speaking to me should be able to take what you may not have known about yourself and put it right on the table in front of you. I can tell you about me riding a bike through a park, a two-seater bike with a sighted person on the front and me on the back pedaling. But if you don't have the confidence to get yourself on that bike because you think you're going to fall, but when I get through speaking, now you want to do it. That's motivational speaking. If you can bring something out of somebody that they never knew it existed or they thought about, and now they're anxious to do it. They come up to you, oh, I love when you spoke about this, and I'm going to make a phone call. Do you have any contacts? You just motivational spoke. You understand?
Yes. That's interesting. Okay. So what are some points that, now here at Aaron's Opinions, Zephyrin, we have a global audience that over time you'll become one of our, as we say, one of our great members of the Aaron's Opinion family. And we have many members of Aaron's Opinion who are either guests or listeners from all over the world. Not just the United States. We have all the countries, all the continents, even someone, even as far as New Zealand is downloading these episodes. So you're no longer just heard of in America. You're heard of all over the universe. So
I love that.
thank you. What are some motivational points that you would like the people in other countries to know, or what, if you were to spread some words of motivation globally, what would you say?
I would say if you have experience, if you have knowledge, don't keep it to yourself. Don't hold it hostage as if you can take it with you when you're gone. You have to give this same knowledge and experience to people around you who may be living like you. I don't want the person that I'm sitting next to at the lighthouse to go home and sit in a room by themselves, just, listening to a book or something when I just was sitting right next to you and I'm going biking tomorrow. I'm going to play baseball tomorrow. And you have no idea that this is going on because I felt like only I should be doing this and I should be the best at it. No, if I share this stuff with you, I'm expecting you to do your best at it and probably be better than me. I'm not afraid of that. I'm not when in gaming, not in sports, not in parenting. You probably have something that I need to know. Just like you said that you would like to get into acting, I'm going to give you a few links for you to get into it because they're always looking for blind people to do things. I have two auditions in the air right now, one for Canada and one filming in Chile. They're always looking for blind people. So why not?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, that's excellent. Really good. Really good. Yeah, I mean, I think you're very right that people should never hold back their knowledge and information that they have. Yeah, really. No, that part is definitely true. So acting, it's another huge area that a lot of blind people have an interest in, and a lot of blind people don't really know how to get into that. So again, how did you get into acting, and what type of acting do you like? Like what is your section of acting that really holds your interest?
I like when I can be me, when I don't have to change who I am too hard, but I can. So when I say that, I mean don't expect me to want to play a blind person all the time. I go for roles, and I want it to be that when those credits come up, it says this was a real blind person. They'd be like, I didn't know that. Those are the types of roles that I like. Now, in the movies that I have been in, recently, there've been short movies and film festivals and things like that. But in one of the movies, the director actually read up on me and watched my videos and things and actually wrote me into his script with my name, my stage name. Um, there's another movie, there's a baseball movie called Seamless about a guy who actually was playing baseball as a kid who got hit in the face with the baseball by a pitcher. And the guy came back to find him to see, to check on his life and actually speak to him. And I played the older version of this kid. And I'm cool with playing a blind person, but allow me to be someone that I'm not. I even auditioned to be a crime boss in a movie. They told me I got the role, but I explained to them, listen, the things that you may want me to do in this movie, I don't know if I'm going to feel comfortable with it because a crime boss means that you're shooting guns and being chased and things like that. I was like, I don't know if y'all want me doing this. And the director was like, I don't, we were thinking that same thing. How about you take this role? I was like, I'm fine with that. Thank you. You know, and that was just a matter of me expressing myself, and they were already thinking it, and I knew they were. They had to be.
Okay. Okay. So you used your humor to navigate that path.
I
That's
did. I had to. I had to.
you do
I
it
don't
very
want to make it seem like
gracefully.
I'm afraid of it, but
Right.
listen, reality check, dude. I know I can't do this.
Well, listen, dude. You're the one that auditioned for that role as the crime boss, dude. So that's your reality.
But I know I can do it. I mean, now I showed you that I can play any role. Now, where do you want to put me?
Right. And that's the intellectual point is you showed flexibility and grace, and then you
Yes,
showed that
sir.
you're employable. And that's the subtle thing that too many people, and I hear stories, and I know you do too. We hear stories all the time about blind people all over the world who are not getting the opportunities they deserve. And this is a
We
serious
don't.
problem.
We
And
don't.
that's what I want to do in the podcast space. Why I'm a podcaster is because I want to give you a voice. And I think that's a tremendous privilege in my humblest of opinions. I think giving you a voice is a great way for me to make a contribution in society, whether you're blind or not. Giving people the chance to speak up is a great gift to give someone else, at least in my opinion. I also
It
think
is.
I also think that acting is a lot of fun, and I also think that it would have been actually a compliment to you if you had been able to play the role of the crime boss. Oftentimes the villain in the story is oftentimes the role that is the character that is the most developed and the most flexible with the acting. So it's a great chance to stretch your acting muscles to play a role like that, to play the villain. Yeah.
It would have been cool. I mean, he said I nailed it, so I loved it, and it
Mm-hmm.
actually got to a point in the audition where I had to slap my second man in command, and I was like, I'm not gonna slap him. And the guy was like, no, it's okay. You can slap me. As a matter of fact, you can slap me as hard as you want to. I was like, are you sure?
I wouldn't have asked those questions. If the director had told me to slap him, I would have I wouldn't have said anything. I would have just slapped him. Just,
But but I tell you what I did do. Uh, I improvised. So I slapped him, and then I grabbed him by his shirt and headbutted him. They
But
said,
he didn't
"Wow,
say
you really did
but
it."
it says here on the script, it didn't say headbutt. Is
No,
that
it
friend?
didn't.
It didn't say that. It said slap him, you know?
But you know what? I improvised, and that's how they said you're awesome. You nobody else came in here and did that.
Right, right. So I guess what it's about is the ability to improv and the ability to be flexible. I think that's what you're really expressing is that to actually get a role in even a short film, it would be about flexibility of your
Yes,
being willing to work with people and being creative and flexible. Yeah, yeah. For me, I especially I have an interest in voice acting. So are you also into voice acting? That's also a lot of fun.
Yes, it is. Now, the only problem that I have with voice acting is because of the line memorization.
Ah.
You know, a sighted person can sit there and look at their lines. They can read everything as they're doing it. But for
Mm-hmm.
us, we have to memorize all of it. And I find that to be tough sometimes
I understand.
when there were long roles, like when you have long speaking roles, like a dialogue with another person or character,
Mm-hmm.
it could get to where you don't remember certain lines. Now, the good part about technology nowadays is that they can cut and paste. But, for me, I don't feel comfortable doing it that way. So I do try to learn my lines as best as I can. Um, but voice acting is fun. Now, in the voice acting world, you are competing a lot against a lot of seasoned voice actors who have credits and things like that. So coming in, you have to work extra hard or take the smaller projects until you get recognized. But when I give you the link that I'm going to give you to help you, to help you get in, um, they offer you classes, free classes with your paid memberships and things like that with professional voice actors and teachers, instructors. So it has helped me.
Excellent. Once I auditioned a couple months ago for a voice acting role, and it was conveying what the character was it was a dying captain on a vessel in a sci-fi film.
Uh-huh.
And the storyline was like I had to speak to like a young I guess like a young teenager, I guess, or a young enlisted person in the military, and then I had to improvise and come up with a voice of me dying and then saying all these lines. And you're very right. It is hard to memorize, but what I do to help you, in case you want to do more memorization, it's a fun activity for me. I love memorizing things. So what I do is I look at lines and then I think, well, this, first of all, I start out by saying, making a statement, and then I ask a question, and then I remember what the statement is, then I remember what the question is, then I remember what this word is, and then I remember the resolution. So I kind of separate, if I look at a script like that, right? I look at it this way. I say, well, what types of things am I conveying? Where do I start my voice? Well, first I have to make a statement. I remember what that statement is. Pause, memorize. Then I say, but then I have to ask you a question, memorize the question. Then I put it together, statement, question, then resolution. So it's not so much for me about memorizing the words. It's about memorizing the conveyed message behind the words. And then it's easier to memorize. But you're right. It is difficult, but that's how I've done it, to break it up with punctuations and remembering where things have to land. Yeah.
I
But
get it. I get it.
that's kind of why it's fun though. It's because with voice acting, you can use your voice to try to paint a picture and and just try to see how it goes and try to see what voice comes out of the other end. That's why it's beautiful. That's why that's why it compels me. Yeah. But,
And every
mhm,
role is not the same. You
sure.
know, I got one where I had to be a cow, a very timid cow, and I had to come up with my own voice for this cow. And I had one where I had to be a underwater sea creature.
Ooh.
So they these voice acting roles, they allow you to try different, create your own character. Now the problem is you can get into this character and it's still not what they're looking for.
Right.
So that's
That's
what
the
bothers me.
problem. But see, that's why it doesn't bother me, because for me, it gives me the chance to come up with creativity. So that's why I'm never offended. If I don't get a position, I'm never offended because it's nothing personal. It's what the director wants. And that's kind of the trick with voice acting. The key difference between voice acting and live action acting is that with voice acting, the director in their mind's ear has a voice that they're imagining. And if you don't send that voice, if they don't hear the voice they imagine, then they won't let you do it. But if you do manage to create the voice that is their dream voice, then you definitely can do it. So that's kind of the flexibility there, is not taking it personally and seeing where your voice takes you. But it's super, super cool. Um, I know what it was. Have you ever heard of a company called Storymore Audio?
I have not.
You have not. Oh, they're great. They've been on my show before. It's a audio podcast. And what they do is they create in-depth audio dramas, like deep, basically they create movies with sound and it's really cool.
Oh, you
Um,
know what? I think I have heard things like that. I have heard of projects like that. I just didn't know who was behind it. That
When
sounds
mhm.
familiar.
You may have seen Storymore around there. They have put together several different dramas over the years that are all audio. And what you do is you're supposed to, if you're a blind person, it's marketed towards blind people. You're supposed to put your headset on and kind of zone out and get into the audio, kind of get into the immersive nature of the audio, and it's really
Right,
beautiful. Yeah, they're
right,
they're really cool. Yeah, they've done a lot of fascinating things, and just the way they have actors from all over the world that contribute different accents and different things. With this audio stuff, you can do a lot of really deep things that you would never actually think you could do with audio. So
right.
that's why
Yeah,
it's always fascinating. But I'll tell you that I was immersed in audio from day one. So I grew up listening to radio shows. I grew up listening to audio books, and then I got into podcasting and listened to other podcasts. And I've just always this has been my thing. Being around audio material has always fascinated me with the different things people say, all the different flexibilities, all the different ways that you can connect the world. It's truly a beautiful thing. So yeah, no, that's
yeah.
that's all really really fascinating. So what do you think, back to you and back to the acting, Zephyrin, what do you think would be like a dream role that you would want to either, okay, let me rewind. If you could do only one voice acting gig, what would it be? And if you could get only one live action acting gig, what would it be?
Uh, Voice acting. I would like to totally do a Disney movie. I would love to
Mm.
be in a Disney movie. Now, sometimes those Disney movies want you to sing and stuff like that. I'm not a singer, but I would love to have a role in those movies. Now, if Jafar can get a lead role and have that funny sounding voice and have no singing skills, I think I can do it. I think I can.
Okay.
um Also, a live action role. Uh, I want to do something action like. Like I said, to, I want to be that secret. I want to be the one where they say this guy was good, but then they find out that it was a blind guy playing just a standard person. Then I'm
Mm-hmm.
awesome. Then it comes to awesomeness. That's what I want. I don't want a role where he's a blind guy playing a blind guy, getting known for playing a blind guy. That's my life. I want to do something you don't expect me to do. You know, it's like I have videos on YouTube, TikTok where I'm driving a car.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he's blind. Yeah, you didn't know that when you started watching the video. But now you looked at my name and in the comments you see that they wrote that I am. Now you know that I'm blind. He was driving a car. That's the shock value that I want. I want to do something that I'm not supposed to be doing. The blind guy was flying an airplane. The blind guy was driving a boat. I want that kind of stuff. Those are the roles I look for.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I definitely get what you're saying. Yeah, for sure. I don't know. For me, I wouldn't mind portraying a blind person considering that I'm blind. I don't know. I totally get your point. But then for me, I just see it in the opposite direction. If I act, I just want to be me. So
Hmm.
I would want, I guess what I'm really trying to say is I would want to portray a blind person, but I would want to just portray it just naturally. Just, oh, that character is just written in and he just happens to be a blind character. But the blindness is not really an issue. It's just part of the character. He just happens to be a blind character in that storyline. That's where I think the true beauty of that comes in. But also, the shock value to a sighted person watching a blind person do something they shouldn't be doing, skydiving, flying an airplane, scuba diving's pretty cool, some strange activity like that, that's also interesting. But also it in some ways it sends the right message, and in other ways it sort of confuses people. I think that can also be confusing for people who don't fully understand that most blind people would not take skydiving, for example. If you had to portray a paratroop, like a military person jumping out of an aircraft, right? You could do that. But then if they realized that you were blind, they might think, well, that's really cool. But then they would also need to realize, well, most people never jump out of an airplane, right? Whether you're blind or sighted, most people never do that. So I don't know. I kind of think it's about, and you're right, playing shocking and interesting roles is critical too. And I totally get that. But also it's about playing a role where you naturally fit into the fabric of a story in a natural way, just being you, being your own persona. I don't know. It's just how I interpret that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess I would say I like the challenge.
Sure.
I like the
Absolutely.
challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Let me be let me get into my character.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they can ask me to probably go over the top or be more than I can be, because there are those kind of roles that I did turn down. That,
Mm-hmm.
listen, I just know that I can't do this. I can't be a
So what's the
motorcycle.
right? So what's the line for you? Like where's your cutoff point where you say, no, I think that's the limit? Like what's your limit?
When I can possibly get hurt.
Oh. You don't want to get hurt.
No,
Well, I
no.
had a lot of roles. I had all sorts of, I had all sorts of roles for you to get hurt. You didn't tell me you were I didn't know you were averse to injury. You didn't say that. Oh, well. Oh,
Because
you don't want a hospital stay. There's this
no,
role where, but why not? You could be in a movie. You could be that person in an emergency room setting. Come on.
right. But you have to understand that, well, people in general have to understand that today's entertainment
Hmm.
mostly involves people hurting themselves, possibly hurting
That's true.
themselves.
That's true. And no, that's not cool. No, I'm totally, by the way, I need to back up and say something very important. I completely disagree with people going onto social media and creating videos where they're endangering themselves or other people. That offends me, and it's not acceptable, and it needs to stop. So I just wanted to say that because I certainly didn't mean to just say that you should go get hurt. I'm sorry. I
No.
didn't mean no, seriously. I did not mean to convey that to you. I didn't mean it that way. I just meant, hey, if you're going to act, all actors, actually the famous ones, definitely do get hurt when they're acting. You should read all the stories about all the horrible injuries that people have gotten on all the sets and over the years and doing all sorts of stunts. And people get hurt acting all the time.
Or they hire someone else to get hurt for them.
Yes, but Zephyrin, either way, like I said, people get hurt while acting all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So, but no, there's a very important difference between sustaining an injury while acting and putting out a video where you get hurt on purpose. The difference is
Yeah.
the sustaining an injury while acting professionally is unfortunately part of that job. It happens. But when you take the time to create a TikTok or a social media video where you end up getting hurt intentionally, that's
Mm-hmm.
that's that's disrespectful and it needs to stop. And it really
Mm-hmm.
does. And whether you're blind or not, I don't know when we're going to come to an understanding that creating hurtful videos is never the right answer. So that's
No.
that's my that's my theory behind that. But yeah, people in entertainment has changed.
Mm-hmm.
I have seen a rise in podcasting over the years. A rise in audio content has really risen, especially from the past 5 years. I've noticed a increase in this content for sure. Yeah, yeah. That's
There's a
Anyway,
lot of
yeah. Hmm.
foolishness on social media right now. Yeah, I
Right.
mean, social media kind of forces you to put your business in the streets. Um, people run out of things to say. So now they're telling you about the old lady they pushed down in the street like
Yeah.
decades ago. You know,
Yeah.
you really couldn't find anything else to talk about.
Well,
Now you're
but
making yourself
there's
look
a
foolish.
difference. There's a difference from, as I say, it's it would be far better to, I guess, just don't be a fool, because this is not a time to be. This is not a time for foolish behavior.
No,
But
it's not.
also, if I see a fool on social media, I don't subscribe. I only subscribe to you, to people who are doing the right thing. So it's also noticeable for me, the difference between fools and right is a very obvious.
Hmm.
No, it's a very obvious difference. But you're very right. That's also a huge problem. Yeah.
And
Hmm.
don't let money make you put yourself in that position either.
No, definitely not.
Because that, you ever hear someone ask you, if I offered you $1 million to do this, this, and this, would you do it? If you have to put it that way, no.
You know.
Because now you're paying me to do something I don't want to
Yeah, nobody would ever do that with me. Nobody would ever be,
do.
nor with you. Hopefully, you would
No,
have the strength and
no.
the the integrity and the maturity to realize that doing something simply for money is the wrong way to do anything. So, but
Obviously,
people don't get
I'm
it. Yeah.
comfortable with living the life that I'm living now. I don't. This You're not going to change my life by making me do something stupid. No, no.
There's a lot of, I hope everybody heard that. There's a lot that can be learned from that statement. I like that. You're not going to change my life by making me do something stupid. That was cool. You need to write a book. How many books have you written, man?
Let's see. Zero.
Oh, okay. Because you strike me as somebody who would be able to do like an autobiographical sketch or something like that. Because you really,
Been
I
told that.
can. So we'll stop being told it and start doing it. You know,
You're right.
when people say, well, everybody's been saying it. Well, in this case, it's the right thing to say. Your self-awareness would translate well to paper or to Audible or something like that, to tell your life story because you have a lot of character. You have a lot of you behind you. That's what really stands out to me. But I like that slogan. You're gonna have to say that probably. I really love that point. You're not gonna get anywhere, in life by making me do something stupid.
Yeah.
That's a very subtle point and a very wise one. It sounds like you're quite a worldly guy. So where have you traveled to outside the States, man? By the way, do you oftentimes go to the Bahamas or Dominica to visit relatives and things like that?
Yes, I love traveling.
Hmm.
Uh, I've been to many different islands, the Bahamas, um, Cayman, um, Curacao, Aruba, St. Thomas, St. Croix. Uh, where am I drawing a blank? Oh my gosh. I just love traveling. And even though I can't see these things anymore, these places, I love to be in them because the air smells different, the food tastes different, the people are different. And I love to be around my native people, even if we're not family. I love to meet new people. I love to mingle. Um, I just love adventurous things, adventurous places, scenic places. Um, as long as it's not a long, long flight away, because I have a problem with being on the airplane for too long.
Sure.
I'm fine. Even this audition in Chile, I mean, it may sound silly. I want to get the role, but I don't because it's a 9 hour flight. I have not been on a plane that long before, and I really, I really don't care to be on a flight that long unless it's a jumbo plane. But that's a
Hmm.
long time. By the time I get off of flights 5 hours or longer, I'm usually like a cardboard, like a stiff board. I'm having to, hit myself on walls and jump over chairs and things to get my body back. it's it's just a long way, and you're in the compressed air. it's a lot to it. I don't like getting on flights that long without wearing a mask on my face.
I understand. Totally understand.
So I'm trying not to eat or drink, and
Hmm.
it's just a lot that goes into it.
Absolutely. No, I've been on airplanes for over 12. I've done over 12-hour flights before.
Ay, ay, ay.
It's, there's tricks. There's a lot of tricks to it. You have to drink one of the tricks is drink an enormous amount of water.
Hmm.
Stay very, very well hydrated. But it affects the pilots, it affects the crew, it affects everybody. Everybody's affected. It's just how well you cope to it. There's a lot of little tricks about what to eat, what to drink, when to have your alcohol so you can kind of drift off a little bit, and then how to wake up with the water. And there's there's tricks, but it's not your imagination. Flying is a tremendous stress for everybody, sighted or not, blind or not. It's very. Are you? By the way, I'm a pretty small guy. I'm only like 5'7" or 5'8". Are you a pretty big guy? Are you tall?
No, I'm not.
Oh,
I'm 5'5",
okay.
180. I'm not a big guy.
Well, okay. Well, then I don't think you have any excuses to not be on a plane for 9 hours to Chile. I think you just used up all your excuse cards because when people are tall, they can say, "Oh, well, I'm tall and it's hard for me to stretch my legs out." But if you're smaller than me, if you're shorter than me, okay, then probably there's no excuse for that. So no, yeah, I know. I think you can go to Chile. I'm not finding the excuse card here.
It's the comfortability of the seats
Yeah,
too. My back doesn't agree with a whole bunch of things. I'm a very, very athletic person, but my back is very temperamental with
I
the
can understand.
chairs.
You know what? I totally understand. I think a lot of people that are more athletic are actually more, in some ways, obviously stronger physically, but in other ways, their bodies are more, they notice certain things a little bit more. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
And you know what? Because you said that, I just hear Al Bundy in my head. Oh, it's an old sports injury.
Except for the fact that that's the argument that any athlete will give. Oh, well, this is some old injury. Well, yeah, yeah. So either don't play sports or don't complain. Is
No, it's still your body. It's
Yeah.
not normal. It's not normal.
Well, that's why I'm the one that's not doing it because I know it's not normal. If it was normal, I'd be doing it, right?
Okay,
Oftentimes,
I guess that's like a barber that cuts hair that's been cutting hair for 10 years, but when he's not cutting hair, his hand is vibrating. Like you knew this was gonna happen, right?
the other thing that really cracks me up about barbers, I could do stand up about that too. When you go into a barber shop and they sit down and they always butter you up and they, get all into it, and they always say, how can I cut your hair? Well, the only thing that really comes to my mind, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, Zephyrin, how can you cut my hair? A, you're asking me, you're the barber, okay? You're asking me. B, you see hair, right? I'm a really hairy guy. Apparently, my barber was telling me that I'm one of the hairiest people in the city, apparently. I have the thickest. He's so jealous because he's like, "Oh, your hair is so thick." So then I always wonder, well, if I sit down and he says, how can I cut your hair? In my mind, I want to say, well, just cut it off. You see there's hair, cut it off. That's why they call it a haircut. It doesn't mean talk about it. Just cut it off. You're sick and tired of that. Or all these people, the other thing that is true, because it's funny because it's true. All these people that, go into a barber to say, when your girlfriend says, "Hey, sweetie, I'm going to go get a haircut." You say, "Oh, okay, that's good." And then she comes back with more hair. And then you say, well, what happened? And then she says, I got a hair. This is true. See, this is comedy. It's true because people do it. They go to get a haircut and they come back with more hair. Well, what's the point? And then the person says, well, they asked me how I can cut their hair, and then I gave them a style, and then, well, they had to add more hair. And then I want to say, again, you said you got a haircut? Really? Let's think about that. Think about it. Are you sure?
She snipped
That's
a piece in the front. Snipped a piece in the front.
yeah, You'd be surprised that and no shame to it. People are very artistic with their hair. I get it. I don't really shame it. But if I was a barber, I would just say, okay, Zephyrin, you wanted a haircut? So that means I'm cutting off your hair. That's what it means. You say it's a haircut, cut it off. You know, But people are weird about that today, and society has really changed a lot over the years, you know. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Well, I certainly hope, in support of you, mate. I certainly hope you get that role in Chile. That sounds like a lot of fun. I mean, obviously you can't say what it is, but generally, what type of character would you be portraying in that role if you got that role in Chile? Yeah.
A blind person.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
It's actually a wait a minute, let me think. It's a hold on. I'm getting them mixed up. Let me see. That one is it's a documentary.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
it's
love
a
documentaries.
a nature documentary.
Ooh, that's fun. Doing what in general?
They didn't tell me yet.
Okay, okay, understood,
And
understood.
that's what
That sounds,
I'm
I
concerned
understand you.
about. What
Yeah,
am I doing in Chile? There's a lot of mountains.
understood. That sounds like fun though. That does sound like a very, very fun thing. Yeah, Chile's an interesting society. So I've never been down there. I have been to St. Lucia, by the way. I've not been to Dominica or
Ah,
I'm familiar with it. Yeah, I love Lucia. Lucia's a fascinating society too. Those islands are very fascinating for sure. Yeah,
St. Lucia has a lot of islands.
I've actually been to Carnival, by the way. So I actually attended it.
Really?
It's so fun. It's cool.
Yes,
It's
it
it's
is. I
it's
bet you ate
really.
and drank.
I certainly did with their piton and their nice lager that they have. Yeah, that was nice. That's a fun
Yes.
thing in the summer to go down there for Carnival,
And
see the
you went at
musicians.
the perfect time. You got some of everything because that they bring out the bands, they bring out
Carnival's
the
cool. Carnival's
yes,
really cool.
it's quite noisy and fun.
A lot of fun. Well, I went to the thing at night where they put people they take you to the cricket stadium and they put people in the stadium at night for the main like judging for the judging round at night where all the bands come and they play their different
Uh-huh.
skits and all that. That is so much fun. That's
It is
so
beautiful. It
cool.
is
So cool.
beautiful. And
We
every
don't really do that.
nobody's still. Nobody's just standing there.
No, there's a lot of activity. We don't really have that here in the States. I mean, except for talent shows, but we don't
No.
specifically have, I mean, we have
We
Mardi
do,
Gras, we have that, and
well,
we
it
have festivals,
depends.
but it's not quite the same. Yeah.
It depends
Mm-hmm.
on where you are.
Sure.
Here in Florida, we're a smorgasbord for the islands. On this side, every island comes here, and during the year, our carnival
Mm-hmm.
is in October. That's
Right.
when that's when all the bands come over. All the it's a huge festival, and it's from Palm Beach to Miami.
Oh,
So
wow.
it's they have them in a bunch of different places. They have one here at this park called Central Park where they play cricket and everything at, and it's always packed. Like the streets are just traffic jammed because all the bands and all the dancers, everybody's here. So I mean,
Mm-hmm.
there's different parts. I know that Atlanta has one too. It's not the same as down here, but down here is not the same as in the islands. So you just have you take what you can get.
Absolutely. Absolutely, man. Yeah, yeah. That's really, really deeply fascinating. Sure, sure.
Oh
So
my gosh. You now you now you have me wanting to do it because that the oh my gosh, every food and every drink comes out at that time. Oh my gosh.
you're so right. You're
Oh,
so right. Yeah, it's really, really interesting. One moment. So, as we walk towards the end of a absolutely fascinating and just beautiful conversation, man, I'm sure that there are some questions you have for Aaron Richmond and Aaron's opinion. And let me tell you that I've heard it all, and Aaron's opinion is marked as explicit for a reason. So, with Zephyrin, what I really want to know is what do you really want to know about me? And if you can ask me only one more question to really make me sweat, to get under my skin, to see if I'm worth my salt as a podcaster, what do you want to ask me?
Hmm. Guess I wasn't ready for this one. Let me see. Okay. Okay, here's a different type of question. If I don't know what your relationship status is, but if you can date someone, if you what 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 what
Sorry, ask.
okay, if you
That
can
was just an interesting flavor. The way that jumped all the way to that point.
exactly. I
Yeah.
listen, I'm doing something different. If you can mix two cultures for you to date in this one person, any continent, any country, what two would you mix in this one person? Uh huh. Would you
What
put a
it
little
is,
curry? Would you put a little noodles? Would you put some tea, some biscuits? What would this person be? The two cultures.
okay, we're going in all the way. Okay,
Let's
we're
go.
diving in head first.
Let's
Okay,
go.
okay.
Hold your nose.
You're asking for it. Okay, you know I'm a Jewish guy, right?
Now I do.
Okay. Um. So probably okay. Um. Probably if I could date anybody, um, probably it would be. I can't tell you, I can't explain on the air why I'm laughing so hard, but I'm going to make a joke and see if somebody in our audience actually picks up on it. Um, so whoever it is out there, probably if I could date anybody in the world, the two cultures I would combine would be Judaism and Southern Baptist.
Wait a minute. Wait.
Now why would I be saying that? Huh. Let's wonder.
uh. Hmm.
You can obviously tell why I said that.
Yeah. Yeah. Of course. Of course. Of course.
Obviously, do you have other material to kind of soften that?
Okay. Let's see. All right. All right.
Hmm.
Let me change the question. Let me change the question then. Okay. I'm giving you. Oh shoot! I gotta plug my computer in. I'm giving you the chance
Hmm.
to to make yourself a meal, a special meal,
Hmm.
and you have you have um. Let me see. Four. I'm sticking with the cultures. You have four different cultural foods that you can choose from
Hmm.
to put in this meal. With including your meats, your vegetables, your what four cultural items would you put on this plate?
Well, I wouldn't say that I would do four because I'm a pretty eclectic eater. I
Mm-hmm.
have a very advanced palate, you see. And
Okay.
and or now, you know that I'm also a French speaker, je parle français, and I've been spent a lot of time in France, actually. And
Mm-hmm.
my favorite meal of the entire French gastronomy, without any doubt in my mind, would be something called rognon de veau. Rognon is the kidney of a cow, and
Hmm.
they chop it up into these little bite-sized pieces. And basically, it sounds a lot worse than it actually is. but it basically just tastes like you've had chicken liver, right?
Unfortunately, yeah.
It's kind of like that, but it's sort of beefier is the way I can explain it. It's kind of like a
Okay.
soft beef. And then they put it on
Hmm.
a plate with like sauce. It's usually like a maple sauce with
Hmm.
rice and vegetables, and then you have it with a cold beer. It's really foreign, but when you get used to it, it's absolutely stunning. It's a stunning dish. So that would be
Okay.
my favorite. That would be my favorite meal. When I was in Lucia, I always loved the swordfish and green bananas. Um,
Ah,
that was one of my favorites.
yeah,
Yeah.
swordfish is good. Swordfish.
So good.
Okay. So that's two. You got two more. Let's go.
Um, but the thing is, nothing else really goes well with.
No, 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 no. No.
Well, what I'm
It
saying
has to be
is,
four. Has to be four.
it has to be four elements. Okay, then probably I would also include. Well, I would also include Thai food or Korean food because I love that culture too with their kimchi from Korea, dumplings from
Mm-hmm.
Korea, Thai food,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
fried rice. I love that. I love that food. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And
Yeah.
one more.
Oh, definitely biryani from India. I love some biryani. Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
For sure.
Excellent. Excellent. You got a full meal there.
But it's all separate meals. Like it wouldn't all go together. Like the
No, it don't
flavors
get
wouldn't
wouldn't get
pair.
together. But you
But
have this table with food on it.
absolutely. Absolutely. Well, that's a very um artistic it's a very artistic question. You're very your questions are very vivid. You have a very vivid way of portraying questions. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm hungry.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you so much. So the whole time you were hungry. So it wasn't, so let's just make notes here. It wasn't that you actually cared about what I wanted to eat. You're the one that wants to eat food, not me. Oh,
No,
okay.
you gave me ideas. You gave me
Oh,
ideas.
okay. I credited some idea.
My Boston baked beans over here weren't enough.
Zephyr, man, you're a blast, man. You're a blast to hang out with. You're gonna love my community, and we humbly and gracefully welcome you forever in the Aaron's Opinion family. We'll certainly connect a little later today with further information. Absolutely, we will. But
Yeah.
until then, so if somebody, apart from clicking the link in the description, if somebody else wants to get in touch with Zephyrin from any, that's a beautiful name, by the way. If somebody
Thank
wants to get
you.
in touch with Zephyrin from anywhere in the universe, how can you be reached?
Before I answer that, speaking of French, I got
Oh,
that name
sure.
because my great grandfather was from France.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, so I'm a junior. My dad had that name, and I have it too.
Oh, so then does your father speak French? Probably.
Yeah, he did.
Oh, interesting. Okay, cool. Wow, that's really cool. Yeah. And did you take French in high school? In school?
I took Spanish.
Oh,
I,
okay.
I mean, um, I understand to a certain extent both
Mm-hmm.
because I
Right.
went to school in a Spanish area,
Mm-hmm.
and my dad spoke French slash patois with his with other family members and friends, so I picked up on both.
That's cool. That's always cool, man. Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
How you guys can reach me? It's easy under any social media platform. Twitch, of course, the gaming app. YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. I don't have a Twitter account anymore. But you can reach me on all of them under comedian See No Evil. That's comedian SEENOEVIL.
That's cool.
And you can follow me.
That is, that's a cool. I love that handle. Comedian See No Evil.
Thank you.
See No Evil
Yeah,
with Zephyrin
I
Victor.
made sure I
That's
kept it
good.
consistent. Hmm.
That's good. That's cool, man. All right. All right, Zephyrin. Honor to have you on the show. I am very suspicious that this will never be your only performance, your only appearance here. I can definitely feel a part two and part three with you, man, because you are a blast. Anyway,
I don't
I
mind.
hope. Anyway, I certainly want you to enjoy the rest of your beautiful day. And
Thank
until
you.
next
You
time, from
also.
my heart to yours, man, thank you so much for
Thank
educating,
you.
inspiring, and entertaining us this morning. It was an absolute honor to have you on the show. You did a truly above average, truly a spectacular performance, man. So until next time, Zephyrin, thanks so much. And until we meet again, we always like to say thank you. Be well, everybody, and have a great day. Help one person today. Help 1 million people tomorrow.